no one couldn't walk alone. Tongue was like a battle zone, but nowadays and so I am all shocked to know love and peace. Let's say thanks to the police.
It's Monday and the TTPS joins us on the Now Morning Show in the form of Inspector Michelle Lewis. Good morning to you, Inspector.
Good morning, Ruckus. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm liking your headdress, sir. Good.
I mean, tis the season. We're celebrating early. Any safety tips for the season, Inspector?
Certainly, and I'm liking your colors as well, the green and all of that. Really Christmas colors. And the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service particularly pay attention to the season that we're in, Christmas season. And we have been observing the online reports that we've been getting in terms of online fraud and scams. And this morning we are sharing information, sharing some tips for everyone really, in terms of doing transactions online, whether you are purchasing or whether you are selling.
Okay.
And so we are seeing that particularly with Facebook Marketplace, that persons are still being scammed out of their money, and persons are still being very relaxed and careless, if I can use such a word, in relation to parting with your hard-earned cash.
I don't understand that concept.
And so this morning we really want to give persons some, wake you up a bit, because persons are still going to that medium, going onto Facebook Marketplace or any other online place that they can do purchase, particularly locally, and being tricked out of their monies.
So, Inspector, part of this conversation, one of the things I really want to bring up is over the weekend, I met a young entrepreneur who was sharing the other side of it, where people will say they're ordering, they will literally make the product, send it out with the courier, and the courier comes back with it because the people say, oh no, I don't have any money. Or no, I don't want it anymore, or can I take it and then give you the money at a later point in time? So as we frame the conversation, of course, I know we always look at it from a consumer perspective, but also the entrepreneurs, they need to protect themselves as well. I think one of the biggest things we have to ask is, why is this still happening?
Yes, well, even as you mentioned that, one of the things that we're also noting is the person would have gone to purchase a product, or just as you say, the producer, somebody or somebody who has a product to sell, say for example a car or anything, and or a cell phone, and you went with your cell phone with the intent that the person will have the cash to hand over to you.
Yeah.
And when the transaction, you give them the cell phone and you get the wad of money, it's not actual money, it's paper. Probably have one or two notes on top of it that is actual money. And so by the time you take it and go away with it, you realize that you were tricked and you didn't receive the money. So that's another way that honest persons are putting the items up for sale, expecting that the other party will be honest and give them the money in lieu for or in trade for the item that they would have purchased.
So, Inspector, if I have something to sell, how do you suggest I go about it then? If I say, all right, it's Christmas, I'm doing some cleaning, I no longer need X, Y, and Z, and I could sell it and hopefully get a little extra cash, right? What would be the best way that you recommend going about that? Because I thought going online would make it, convenient for everybody involved, but we have trust issues online, right?
We do have trust issues continuously.
Right. So how do we go about it?
Right. So it's for both sides, right? Because persons need to know that your site is also a trusted site. So persons need to check to see, to check reviews for the authenticity of the site in the first instance. And as well, persons can read the reviews to see if there are any feedback in terms of scam or poor quality or anything like that before you're actually going to purchasing an item. And if you are the owner of something and you're putting it up for sale, you may not have that amount of review because you're now doing it.
That's what I was not
but
going to ask.
certainly persons will have to build your clientele. It's not going to happen. And there is a trust issue that will exist until your brand is established, right? So persons will be, in the first instance, having some level of trust issues where that is concerned. But there's always still the way of outside of market online. There's also the in-person sale of products where persons have their business, or they may have someone who has a business and they can ask that person to sell the item for them in their shop or their store, and they work out whatever they want to work out, as the case may be. But reviewing the online comments from places, I'm checking for the authenticity of a site to make sure that it looks bona fide and is as much as you can. But what we also see is that persons get super excited with prices and just throw everything out of the window.
All
throw
common
safety,
sense, yeah.
common sense, everything just, and that is one of the things that, because if you were to really do some due diligence, we use the word due diligence, but if you were just to check, mark or decide, do what you normally do in Trinidad and Tobago, and make sure that when you go to do this, you're actually doing it out of concern for yourself, because you're putting yourself at risk when you go to purchase an item in some area that you do not know. The area probably sounds nice because they know they have a nice name, but the area may not be a safe area for you to be in. So one of the things that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has also been encouraging persons to do is to utilize the police stations and the officers there at the station for your own safety. Now, we want you to do your own thing. We don't want you to just, come there, carelessly. We want you to ensure that you would have done some stuff, ensure that you would have checked this person out and all of that. And you want, as an added measure of security, to come to the police to now transact your business, particularly if it is a large sum of money. Another thing that we encourage persons to do in terms of online transfer. So you spoke of businesses and online transfers. Normally, persons will give you an account number, right? Whichever financial institution, but you do not know the details of that information. You can ask for a soft copy of the ID card, information of the persons whose bank account you are going to transfer the money into, right? These are just added measures so the person on the other side, they might think you're being difficult, but you're not being difficult. You really want to ensure that where you're sending the money and the person who is buying, they are all legitimate agents in this thing.
But I mean, it would be different, of course, if it is a company name, for example. If it's a business account you're sending the money to, you wouldn't have any ID necessarily saying that.
If it's a business.
Right.
And if it's a registered business.
Yes.
Because we know people have names, businesses, and their bank account is not in the name of
that's a whole different conversation altogether.
Yeah.
But in terms of the getting the soft copy of their ID, is there any concern with fraud in that regard, in terms of being able to take your ID and use it for nefarious activities?
I don't think so, because persons have, so your ID, there's fraud, there are levels of fraud, all how you look at it, right? That's just the cyber space that we are in. There are levels of fraud, all how you look at it. And if it is someone takes your ID card, in terms of fraud or attempts to use your ID card, there's your picture on your ID card, I think your I remember mixing it up with my ID card, but there are some elements on an ID card.
No, the police ID card. We don't all have the police ID card,
I can't remember the details of the ID card.
I'm pull up my ID card and
but your ID card number, your date of birth, and your ID card number has the same thing. Turn it to the back. Let me see.
QR code.
It don't have no QR code or no.
Right,
you
but
have
it has your
one?
photo to the front and to the
Look
back.
Look at Tasha, she have a QR code.
So there are some specific identifications that are on your particular ID card that would not match to anybody else's.
Okay.
Yeah. So for
but if I send them a copy of it, wouldn't they be able to?
No, but that's your unique identifier. It is just separate from anybody else's.
And then also this.
So even if somebody, your picture is your picture, your ID card number and the date of birth, basically the same with the 3 digits to the end being different.
Unfortunately, like for somebody like me, for example, who's extremely skeptical, like you could send me a picture of your ID card and I could be like,
but
this could be
it doesn't
forged.
have to be a national ID. It could be your driver's permit or another form of ID.
And once it's associated with your account.
Yeah, and it is really for the transaction of money, right? It's really, or else there's another way that you could go in and you could swipe with using a links machine or something. So you have to understand, right, that listeners who are listening and those who are hearing us this morning, that is in cases of transactions and sums of money that are large. It's not going to be something that you're going to do for a small amount of money. And it is really to ensure that you who are sending the money, very comfortable that the person who's receiving it, that they're all legitimate, because we are getting reports of a lot of online fraud and scams and persons who are losing large sums of money because of these checks and balances that are not being done. And so if someone has a vehicle that is selling for $40,000, $40,000 to me and to use a lot of money to somebody else, it may not be. I want to know that you, who I'm sending this money to, really are the person that, it's not a scam. And these are what some of the things that we want persons, members of the public, to really pay attention to. And in you doing so, the other side will recognize that you too are being cautious. And if it is that they are not above board, then they will dust it, basically.
Well, Inspector,
Right?
as you mentioned that particularly, my mind now goes back to an incident that would have been reported. I believe it would have been early in the year there, where there was supposed to be a vehicle transaction.
Yes.
And the person literally drove off with the car out of what would have been a government office at the time, right? In light of that, how is the TTPS working in tandem with some of these organizations to ensure that these sort of things are being followed up on and focused on?
Sorry, you said just go back again.
So
an incident.
there was an incident that happened earlier this year where there was supposed to be a vehicle transfer.
Yes.
And the individual said they had the money, and then when they were in the process at the government office, the person actually drove off with the car.
So the person didn't get the money out of the
No,
vehicle?
they didn't get anything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right?
That is larceny.
Listen, right? So then how
That is
does
highway robbery.
Listen. So how does the TTPS work with, let's say, organizations, other ministries, non-governmental organizations, to ensure that these sort of things, awareness is raised and there's a follow-up?
Well, certainly where organizations want the police to come in and do awareness, like you said, have discussions with their staff. We do that on various different topics, including at this time, as particularly for Carnival going into Christmas and fertilizer testing and all those, we actually do those. So companies can feel free to call us in for us to come in and chat and give some advice to their employees, to their staff. And we also, as we said, you mentioned an organization, but we work very closely with them.
Yeah.
But we also want to encourage persons to utilize the spaces of the station and just let the officers know what you're coming to do, and they would gladly, assist, because one of the things that we do as law enforcement is not just reactive, but being proactive as well, to prevent crime from happening. And so giving you its information and being there as a support, safety support for you, is some of the ways that we do to ensure that crime is reduced in Trinidad, and the fear of crime is also reduced among our citizens.
All right, well, we hope for all the best for this season. I know you'll be back to give us some more tips as we get deeper into the season and we continue along this Christmas road. So thank you very much for joining us this morning, Inspector.
Thank you all for having us, and Trinidad and Tobago have a wonderful day. You can keep enjoying the season into the new year.
Christmas.
We have one more month again. Yes, all the best.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you have your birthday shots. All you have to do is stick around to the Now Morning Show. We'll be right back.
To the police, all around, especially in town. No one couldn't walk alone. Town was like a battle zone, but nowadays.